Welcome everybody to Sell Beyond's How to Do a Product Launch in the EU. My name's Eloise Finch. I'm founder of Sell Beyond, and we specialise in helping brands grow on Amazon in the UK, Europe, and North America. So today we're going to look at how to do a product launch in the EU and cover off a number of topics. We're going to look at VAT and shipping in the context of Brexit changes, do a bit of an overview, and I can point you in the direction of good resources for that. Looking at product research before we do product launch, with the aim of getting to the top 10 in the European countries where we're trying to launch. So first things first, I'm not a VAT expert and I'm not a shipping expert, so I can give you a bit of an overview and you can get in contact with me if you'd like to speak to specific suppliers in that area. But it is very important, and depending on how much your knowledge is of Amazon, to know what the changes are to sellers who want to go into Europe from the UK. So just as a heads up, it is possible to, if you're already a seller on Amazon, to go to your Seller Central and then go to help and type in Brexit. And there are some very useful videos that have been updated fairly recently on how to get ready for Brexit if you're selling across the EU via FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon, or if you're using seller fulfilled orders. So I definitely recommend you watch those if you haven't already, because they will give you the basics of what you need to understand. One of the other parts of this, which is in the Amazon's Brexit webinar, is the new rules for requiring that you're required to comply with to clear a customs border, obviously with the new customs border between the UK and the EU. So if you are going to store your products outside the EU, whether in a network of warehouses or a single warehouse in the EU and fulfill from there, you will need a VAT registration in the country where you store your products. If you want to do that with Amazon as well, you'll also need that. So this is on the Amazon Brexit webinar, and I just want to give it a flag up because there's a lot to it, and it's a 45-minute webinar. So I'm not able to answer specific questions about the VAT number, the URI number, and all of these. It's in the Brexit webinar, and I can also put you in touch with a third-party logistics provider in the UK that are very competent in that area. So just as a head up, please do consider going to the help page of Seller Central, typing in Brexit, and having a look at those specific pieces of instruction. What's the main thing? The top line for the things that you need to know is that FBA, so fulfilled by Amazon, doesn't work in the same way after Brexit. So you have a couple of options, and this is for depending on how much you know. If you're bringing things in from overseas, so let's say China, for example, and we want to bring them in, at the moment you can bring them into the UK and then ship out to Europe. Now that's not going to be possible anymore. You're really much better off bringing things into the UK, shipping things into the EU, because then you won't pay duty. If you try and go this way, that will cost you more money than if you ship either straight to the UK or straight to the EU. Once you've shipped to the UK or the EU, you can either use a third-party logistics, or you can use Amazon FBA, which will ship just in the UK. And similarly, going into Europe, you can use Pan-European FBA, and that means that you're sending everything into Amazon and that they will ship across for you, and you can choose which countries you want to do Pan-European FBA in, because you have to register for VAT in the countries that hold your goods, or you can use a third-party logistics provider in the EU. So Amazon have announced that UK will no longer be part of Pan-European FBA. There'll be UK FBA and Pan-European FBA that doesn't include the UK. If you source from outside the EU, consider shipping direct to the UK and EU to minimise border charges. And there are various ways you can do that, depending whether you want to take part of the set of Amazon's FBA network or you want to use your own self-fulfill network with different warehouses. Now, there are some great webinars that look specifically into this. I know Scale for E-tail, which is a really useful resource Facebook group. Some of the sellers on that forum are looking into register their company in places like Estonia, so that then they can fulfill from warehouses in Estonia, get VAT in Estonia, register their company there, and basically run two different companies, a UK entity and a European entity, and then you have to pay VAT on the European and on the UK. That's one way of doing things. Otherwise, other companies are just going to stick with Amazon, and then you can decide whether you register for VAT in 6-7 European countries, or you register for VAT in 1 or 2. If you register for over 2, Amazon has particular offers on the VAT. So this is a broad overview. It's important to know that there's changes. We're not really focusing on the VAT and the shipping at this point, but it is something that you do need to be aware of, especially if you haven't launched into Europe already. There's a number of different choices you need to make, and all of them obviously have cost implications. So what I really want to focus on this morning is is the point where you have figured out, as much as we can at the moment, depending on tariff agreements, what's right for you in terms of shipping, because that's one area that you absolutely have to master. And then we need to have that cost in place before we decide what we're going to launch in the EU. So the really important thing that I cannot overemphasize is the importance of product research. So I was speaking to a business owner earlier this year who was selling kettlebells and exercise bikes. And he had decided to click on the button that says sell globally on Amazon and just launch them in the EU. And he hadn't priced up, number one, the cost of delivery, but more importantly, the cost of returns. If any of his customers decided they wanted to return that exercise bike or the kettlebell. And after 6 months of shipping into the EU, he figured out that the cost of one return wiped out the profit margin of 10 sales. He could have avoided that if he had, before clicking on the sell globally button, looked at what are the cost implications of shipping into the EU, the cost of returns, who's going to handle that, and also, is the price of your item justified to make it worth selling in Europe? So here are some golden rules if you're thinking of launching into the EU of what you need to do to make sure you're going to be successful. So product research on Amazon. Number one, we need to figure out the shipping cost. You can't do anything until you have at least an idea, or you can't make any decisions until you have at least an idea of the cost of that. The next thing, really important, is the keywords. If we're doing product research, we want to be really sure that we're searching like for like. So even at the stage where we're thinking about what we're going to sell, can we sell our products at a profit in Amazon Germany, in Amazon France, in Amazon Spain? We need to make sure that we've got the product keyword research right. So we've got the right words. Then we search for the equivalent product in each marketplace. So Germany, France, etc. We look at the price and we look at the sales rank of the competitor products. Now, this might seem quite obvious, but I know many, many companies that come to Sell Beyond afterwards, they're wondering why their products aren't ranking, their products aren't selling, And it's typically because something down here, even at the very early stage, has been missed out. So if you've got the right keywords in the foreign language, you can Sell Beyond, we help you with that. You can use a competent translator that understands about keywords. So if we're going to sell yoga balls and we're thinking about shipping them to France, we need to know what yoga ball is in French, because otherwise you're not going to find the comparable products. We then do a search, and there are different ways, and I'm going to do a screen share to show you how to do that. We look at price, we look at keyword ranking, sales ranking, because we know there's an opportunity if your competitor has a high sales ranking and a high price. So product research, what we're looking for this is crucial. There will be some things that you're selling right now in the UK that you can't be competitive on in the EU, even if you're selling Prime. It may be the weight of what you're selling, it may be the shipping cost. If the competitor in the EU of your exact product doesn't have a high sales ranking and doesn't have a high price, you need to really ask yourself, is there an opportunity for you in this market? Now, I'm just going to do a screen share to show you a couple of different ways to do that. Some people aren't familiar with this process. So let's go on Google Chrome here. Okay, in the UK, we know that there are colouring pencils for adults. Here's an example. Let's go on Amazon France. I'm thinking of doing a colouring pencil range for Amazon France. Now, there are two ways we can do this to look at the market opportunity. If we go into the first top listings, let's say number one seller here, we click on the listing, we scroll down to the product information. So if you're in English, just to be clear, click on a sponsored ad, however, by mistake, is product information, technical details, and additional information. On the French one, it'll obviously information sur le produit, descriptif technique, information complémentaire. It's the same set of information, and we will see the sales ranking here. So this is number one in set de dessin, which is drawing kits, which we'll know because we'll have got our keywords right. And then here in England, the category is pencils for adults. So here we have the bestseller ranking of a product group in the category stationery and office supplies. Amazon has whittled down all the different categories. Remember, Amazon used to sell books, so it's kind of like library categorization for anyone that remembers libraries. You want to make sure that your competitors ranking high for what you've got to sell. Again, in France, les meilleures ventes, these are the best drawing kits. Now we want, and remember I said we need to make sure they've got a high sales ranking, so maybe in there are the top 10, top 15. Amazon will give you the first 50 on 2 pages. You want to make sure yours is at the top, and also that the price is right, that you can be competitive on price and also make a profit. So this is a very important piece of research that you need to think, am I in the right category? Now there's also software you can use to help give another perspective on whether this product research is right. We can use it in the UK, we can use it in the EU. And some of you may have seen a video on YouTube I did earlier this month or a couple of days ago. We can use Jungle Scout. Jungle Scout is paid for software. It has a Chrome extension. Jungle Scout will give us an estimate of the sales and the daily sales for each item in a list, and that's based on their ranking in this bestseller list. So we're in the market for colouring pencils in the UK. We can see, oh wow, this brand selling 40 grand a month. That's pretty impressive. I could get some of that action. They're selling 17,000 kits a month. We click on monthly sales. Well, we'll find, wow, they really launched their product fairly recently, let's say April. They've really hit a high in August, probably back to school time, and they're doing quite well now. This is some data. It's not massively accurate. We can see that company's been around since 2015, and they've got 14,000 reviews. Can we see that here? So we also have to decide, are we likely to be able to compete with them and on what timescale? So this is what Jungle Scout will tell you. There's another Chrome extension called Helium 10. You can see it here. It's another subscription. I think you can get 50 searches a month for free. Helium 10 has a product called X-Ray, Amazon Product Research. And they will run similar types of numbers, but it will be slightly different results. They'll tell you slightly different, under what Jungle Scout will tell you. They're estimating £27,000 worth of revenue. Jungle Scout estimated more. And again, we can click on the graph, and there'll be sales graph over time, 90 days, 1 year. There, we can also have a trend, and we have a 7-day moving average. Both Jungle Scout and Helium 10 will also give you a success score. So you have to make the decision. They will give you an automated average pricing, low cost, low profit niche, market dominated by a small group of sellers, mature or restricted market. Helium 10 doesn't think this is a great sector to be in to launch colouring pencils. You have to make your own decision. We can also do the same on Amazon France. We've got Helium 10's product research here. It's also going to give us a view of what people are making and whether it's a good niche to be in. Should we be in the colouring market, the colouring pencil market in Amazon France? Market dominated by a small group of sellers, price average, review count average. So we get Jungle Scout as well. If we do a search for colouring pencils on a search page, Jungle Scout will also give us a score as well. Somewhere, if it comes up. Oh, well, it's not playing today. Your competitor has to have high sales ranking, and it needs to have a high price. We can subscribe to software such as Helium 10, Jungle Scout to do that research for us. We have to be very clear of the keywords that we're using, because Jungle Scout and Helium 10 will just upload to you and doesn't account cost of shipping, the profit of those competitors, the amount they spend on advertising or anything else. So that you do at this stage, the better that your product launch will be. So in terms of researching the product, it's very, very important to get the right keywords even at this early stage, and to go through the Amazon sales ranking as well as look at those Jungle Scout and Helium 10 scores, because they are based on the Amazon bestseller ranking, which changes every hour. So know where that data is coming from and use it with caution, because it can look very easy, like you're going to make a ton of cash, 40 grand a month on colouring pencils. It's not going to be as easy as that. So buyer beware. Before I move on to launching a product, is there any questions anybody has about Helium 10, Jungle Scout, or the product research stage for launching in a foreign market such as the EU? I've just one question coming up here. So I've got a question. Thank you for sharing. You mentioned high ranking and high price to sell in EU. May I know how much to consider high price, please? Thank you. That's a great point. So this is where we come back to, what is the cost of your product that you can source, and what is the shipping cost? Because high price is going to be relative to your business. And this is where you will be successful if you do the work, or you hire someone to help you to do the work, to look at how much can you source that product, for argument's sake, in China? How much is it going to cost you to bring into the European Union? How much is it going to cost you in FBA storage if you want to sell it through Amazon? Do that on an Excel sheet, on a back of an envelope if you want, and then you'll know whether the competitor price you see in Rayon de Couleur when you look at Amazon France is something you can beat or not. So it's really going to depend. If you're, you could be selling chocolates that you hand make yourself. That's going to be at one price point. You could be selling USB chargers for an iPhone. That's going to have another point. And only once you've done the math can we then say, well, those competitors, there's something we should be in. I hope that answers your question, and I'm happy to go offline about it. But it's really, really key that you take responsibility as a business owner for doing the math, because that's what's going to make you successful. Are there any other questions on product research or the software we can use, or the margins of error that we have about it? Okay, right. So we've done our product research. We're sure that we found something that's going to absolutely kill it in the EU. Now we need to launch. So how do we launch a product in the EU, or even in the UK for that matter, the USA? There are some constants to product research. Sorry, there are some constants to product launch in the European Union or other Amazon marketplaces. There are some things that are always going to be the same, and there's going to be some things that are different. So what do we need to do? The first thing you need to know is that Amazon has what they call a honeymoon period. If you have a new product that you want to launch, that you're listing for the first time on an Amazon marketplaces, Amazon is going to give you 2 to 3 weeks to show the algorithm that your product is in demand. So you have an opportunity right at the beginning, when you're ready to press sell product, and when you've put the launch date as a specific date, you have an opportunity to say to Amazon, you should take account of this product, customers want it, we're going to sell a lot. Once we know that there's a honeymoon period, what do we have to do during that period? Generate traffic. We're not talking roads here. We all know about searches. Amazon is a platform which is based on keyword searches. So we want to make sure we've got the right keywords, whether they're in English or French or German or Spanish, whatever language, Swedish. And we want to make sure that once people type in that particular keyword, they're going to get to your page. So traffic is right keywords, and sessions. For those of you that aren't familiar with the Amazon business reports in Seller Central, there are data, if you're already selling on Amazon, where you can see how many people visited your product page in a month. Just like with Google, which will tell you how many website hits you had, Amazon will tell you how many sessions you had. So we want to make sure that we're making people search for the right thing, and then they're visiting our page. A lot of this is to do with getting a really good product listing, having the right price that's competitive, and also having an attractive hero image, so the right image that makes people think, I want some of that. So we're generating traffic. Once we've got people on the page, then we want to generate sales. We want to make sure that once people are on the page, they want to buy. We want to get lots of sales in this honeymoon period. Once we're in our launch phase, we've got 2 to 3 weeks to get as many people to buy our products as possible. There are lots of different ways to do it. We can look at some of those. We need to make sure that we're using every opportunity. We can use social, we can use Amazon Vine reviewers, we can use promotions, discounts, vouchers, all of those things to make sure we get as many sales as possible during that time. Because as we know with Amazon, if somebody searches for your product, they click on it and they buy it, the Amazon algorithm is going to say, that's relevant, and you're going to go up the rankings as a relevant product for that keyword. The more that you do that, especially in the launch period, when anyone searches, for example, crayon de couleur in French pencil crayon, people have seen yours, they've bought it, people are buying it more, you're in the honeymoon period. your ranking for that keyword is going to go up. So you've got a short amount of time to try and appear on page 1. We know, just like with Google, most people buy or most people click on the first page of Google hits. The same with Amazon. There are 12 pages at least on Amazon. 70% of purchases are from the first page. People don't click through. So you need to make sure in your launch period, you're doing everything you can to appear on page 1 for the keyword that you're trying to rank for. And then you need to take advantage of that as a self-perpetuating machine to make sure we can appear on page 1. Now, how do we do that? To do that, we need to understand exactly how Amazon works and what this keyword ranking actually means. So I'm going to flip to a slide to show you how Amazon is working for that type of thing. Are there any questions yet about the honeymoon period and any words that I've used? Traffic, sessions, keywords, and keyword rank. Okay, I'm going to move on. So Amazon is, the most important thing is giving a great customer experience. Amazon is an automated platform that will reward you for giving a great customer experience. What does that mean? It means you're giving customers what they want. People search for something, they click on it, they buy it. Now, how do we do that? We've got to have a good product. You have to have a good product that doesn't break. People don't want to give returns. It's described in the right way so people know what they're buying. So part of that is again the keywords, and it's just as important in French as it is in English. It's just as important in Swedish as it is in French. People want to be searching for the right words. You've got the right words in the title, the bullets, the back office, i.e. what you don't see on the Amazon product page, but you see in Seller Central. And the keywords have got to be relevant to the product. So when people search, they find what they want and they're likely to click on it. The next thing we need to do is get people to see that listing. We need to get people through the right type of search and through paid advertising, all sorts of different ways. Once people are being encouraged to look at your product, we need to make sure that they click on it. That validates the keyword. You've got crayon de couleur, you're selling awesome coloring pencils. People see the ad, they love the price, they click on it, they click on your listing. That is then telling the Amazon algorithm that you are serving the customer needs and they're interested in what you've got to buy. However, we've actually got to get them to buy, so we need them to convert. Conversion means taking someone interested into a buyer, a browser into a customer. This is what I might call, and with the best one in the world, marketing woo-woo. It's not enough to just plonk a load of descriptions on Amazon. We want to get emotional triggers, buyer engagement, tell people about your brand. We want videos if we can get them, A+ content, answer people's questions, all of that stuff that allows us to get buy-in from a consumer that's looking at 1 trillion products on Amazon. There are so many competitors. What's going to build their trust? All of these help the trust. They allow people to think they might buy from your stuff. There is some keyword ranking in this, but not much. The enhanced brand content or the A+, not much. And then people leave you reviews. You're giving them a good customer experience. The unboxing experience is good. All of these things will impact the product launch. Just to be clear, depending on who is on here and what you know about an Amazon ranking, if we go back to our French coloring crayons, for example, here we have a product listing where we have, it's a brand that launched only a couple of years ago on Amazon. They've got very, very delightful images with loads of colors. They've got infographics. You can see what you can do with it. You know what you're getting. They've got videos as well. And this is even in French, right? So they're doing a really good job. There's promotions if you buy in bulk. you can buy with different things. You can buy crayons with frames or crayons with paper. Their bullet points are completely full. There's lots of keywords here. So they've got crayon, couleur, mine, dessin, all of the French keywords that are relevant for this. We scroll down and they have got some lovely product descriptions, and people are leaving great reviews and photos. This company hasn't got A+, but they are answering people's questions. Somebody is answering questions, and we hope it's that company. All of these things build into that trust. At the product launch, you may not be able to answer questions, but if they come up, you should. But before you press launch the product in the back office of Amazon, you want to make sure you have all of these things to make your listing pop, stand out, and be ready to be bought by a potential client. So to summarize, in terms of product launch on Amazon Europe as well as Amazon UK, we need to have all of these things. We need to have keywords. We need to have ads, and ads will be based on those keywords. We need to have all of the emotional content in French, German, Spanish, Italian, Swedish, Dutch. Great copy, great listing. And when people search for your product, they find yours and they think it's relevant. And that will massively affect your European product launch. So the key is the success is foreign language keywords. Is the keyword connected to the product? Do people then click on the product when they are searching for that keyword? Is Amazon linking the two, your product and that keyword? Are people buying? And then are you moving up the sales ranking? Now, this is hard enough. This is hard enough in English, and it's very tough in the EU as well. And why is that? This comes down to the issue of translation. How easy is it for us to look for keywords in a foreign language? So above and beyond when you are looking to launch your product in England, if you're looking to launch in a foreign language market, now there are loads of different ways you can go about doing this. We do it at Sell Beyond, it's one of our services, but everything has a price point and everything has an opportunity. Translation, you can use, obviously, so in terms of launching your product in Europe, and even at the product research stage, the words have got to be really key. And there's many companies will want to test the market, go with Google Translate because it's quick. You can also go on the Amazon Translate will translate your listings if they're already in the UK. You can find freelancers from $5 an hour or less at Fiverr, Upwork, people per hour. You can find people that will speak the foreign language. You can find a freelancer who speaks the foreign language, or even translation agencies. They're all possible solutions. You have to ask yourself in that 2 to 3 week honeymoon period, are we using everything in our power to do the best job? A Google Translate, as we all know, I'm sure we've all seen really amazing examples, can be hit or miss whether it's a good job. Now, at Sell Beyond, we did a lot of translation about 18 months ago for a skateboard company across the EU. Skateboards have technical vocabulary like trucks. If a skateboard move, you can grind. Some of the translations that the previous agency had used before we did the job, they translated trucks in English to lorries in French. Grind became to mill, as in a coffee grinding mill. Those are not keywords that people can search for if they're translated wrongly. And that job happened to have done previously with a freelancer. This is no shame on anybody. I've been a freelancer myself. There's people in the market. To do a really, really good job for product keywords on Amazon, you have to know the language, You have to understand the idea of search terms, and you have to know how to use Amazon, because you want your keywords in the listing, in the titles, in the back office. Many times I've been asked to do an audit of somebody else's product translation on an Amazon listing, 6 months, a year after the product is launched. And there are basic Amazon errors, copy-paste errors. If you want to know whether your translators have done a good job on your existing listings, go into the back office, look at the back-end keywords, and you can figure out whether it's been Google translated or not. If there are any keywords that are the same, 2 or 3 the same in a foreign language, is almost certainly a Google Translate job. Your freelancers just not really understood what Amazon back-end keywords are there for, and are skipping a step. Consider what you're buying. If you want to really launch and take advantage of that product window, it may be in your interest to get the best job available. All of these are different stages, and we have had a lot of success at Sell Beyond, where we're working with companies that have initially launched with a Google Translate job or a cheap Upwork Fiverr job, come back to us a year later. We've done the full sales and marketing job in French, German, Spanish, Italian, and we've increased conversions 30%. We could have done it earlier, but everyone has got a price point and we can't do everything at the same time. But consider very carefully what you're asking your translator to do and how do you check their work, because that's going to be sure you'll know where your money is being spent. So, I've just got a Q&A here. Hold on a sec. Okay, we've got a margin question. I shall just finish off this section and come back to there. So, in terms of the launch, so remember, in the EU, with a new product, you've got to create traffic. You've got to get people coming to your product page with the right keywords in order to rank the keywords to page 1 and stay there organically, which means the listing has to be completely on point before we start. What keywords are you going to try and rank for? You need to have thought that before you start writing that listing, and you need to brief your translators, your Amazon agency, your translation agency, and double check that they have got the right keywords. It's very easy for a translator to find the right words, but they're not necessarily the words that someone's going to type into Amazon when they're looking for the product. And that's something you've got to check, that you don't get your translators to make that mistake. How are you going to launch? So I'm just going to finish off the last slide, is all the different ways that we can launch on Amazon and generate traffic. And then I'll go back to the business angle and any other Q&As that we've got. So how do we launch? How do we generate traffic? I would say the first thing to know before we even strike to try and generate traffic is in Seller Central, in the back office, every time you create a listing, you upload the FN SKU, you put the title in, you put the manufacturer name and the brand name, you create the ASIN, you then go back into edit inventory and you can put a launch date. So once you've created the SKU, you don't necessarily want to sell it now. You might decide to press sell for 3 weeks' time when you've got all of the listing complete. And it's a really, really crucial thing to do immediately create the FN SKU so you don't miss the honeymoon period. So to generate traffic, we want to know what the product launch date is, and we've got that in Seller Central in the back office so that we're launching at the correct time. We then have the right keywords, obviously. We've got Amazon pay-per-click. Now this is clearly obvious. Amazon gives a lot of time trying to get you to spend more money with them. We've also got Amazon promos. What else do we have? We've got Launchpad and Vine. These are ways that you can pay to get good visibility on your Amazon listings. Vine is an early reviewer program. You can pay for people to review your listing, but you can't pay for them to give you 5-star, so that it doesn't always translate to a good return on investment, but it works for some people. We've also got off Amazon strategies. Social media, we know it's pretty broad. We've got Facebook, Insta, we've got Pinterest, we've got LinkedIn, YouTube, all of these places where we can get awareness. We've got email marketing if you have an email list. We've got chatbots that can work with your website, they can work with Facebook. We've got influencers. So affiliates and third-party websites, discount sites, review sites where people can click on a link and be sent to the Amazon page. Now, this is hard enough in the UK. It's hard enough in your native language. It's definitely more tricky in the EU. And already if you get here, if you get to here in a foreign language, you're doing particularly well on your own and you haven't got an agency involved. Email marketing, if you're trying to get an audience in you, that's going to be tricky. Chatbots is possible, influencers. You either need to be really good at the language or find an agency that's good at that. Affiliates, third party, again, that might be tricky in the foreign language. Other ways to generate traffic, obviously the price. You could consider lowering the price at the beginning to attract people to your product and then put the price up as the launch goes on. That's certainly not in Amazon's terms of service, but you need to figure out what's your profit point and at what point you need to start making money, because this is fundamentally business. If you can't make money on Amazon, then you shouldn't be selling on there. I'm sure you've got better things to do. So in terms of that, I'm going to come back to this Q&A question here. Should we aim for a higher margin percentage in the EU as compared to the UK? If the margin percentage is similar lower than selling in UK Amazon, then it might not be sustainable in the EU Amazon for long term. That's a great question. Should we aim for a higher margin percentage in the EU as compared to the UK? Again, business, we run businesses to make a profit. We have to decide how we can sell to make a profit. Depending on where your company is based, where the products are made, your shipping costs, at every point we need to make a profit. Depending on where your stuff is made and the other people in the market, it may be more expensive for you to sell things in the EU. Therefore, you may need to make more money, and therefore aim for a higher profit margin to cover your costs for shipping in the EU. So yes, it could be you should aim for a higher profit margin in the EU because it costs you more to ship there. It may be you found a really great solution for shipping and you don't need to aim for a higher profit margin. If you are not making a profit in the EU, it won't be sustainable, that's for sure. So hence why it's very important to look at your shipping costs. How are you going to get your products in the EU? Are you going to go with Amazon FBA, which means you have to potentially send things into a German warehouse? You're going to have to VAT registered for Germany. There are those shipping costs. You could set up another EU company, register in Ireland, register in Estonia, become a digital Estonian citizen, then pay VAT in Estonia and use an Estonian company to ship your things out. There are many options. You've got to make a profit, otherwise go and do something else with your time, because it's got to make sense. There are so many companies that are selling on Amazon and not really looking at the profit margin. That's why I'm hammering home this point. Is there anything else that anyone would like to ask? I have allowed some people to speak. I've got Mark here and Johnny. Please shout if you'd like to ask anything. Well, I hope that I'm just going to wrap up now. I hope I've given you an idea of the way to go. We've got our shipping and our VAT obligations. Happy to have a one-to-one with anyone that wants some more advice on that. When you close out your Zoom, you'll be sent to a survey page where you can give me a score, whether you've liked the webinar and whether you've got any more questions or ideas for what I can do you want another webinar this season? I'd really, really value your advice. You can also book a one-to-one with me if you'd like to follow on the conversation. The key thing to know is the VAT, the shipping, the profit margin before you start, and then make sure you're working with any partner that can really cover off those keywords, both in terms of making sure you're looking at the right products and the like-for-like sales in the EU market. Make sure we're launching in markets that want our products. And then when we do the full optimization of the listing and the product launch, we're using the right keywords that French, German, Spanish, Italian, Swedish, Dutch people would search for themselves to look for that product. We can then look at advertising, we can then look at price promotions, and then we have to wait. I guess the final point of this is we have to sit and wait maybe 2-3 months, even before we break even. But playing the long game at a point where we know we're going to be profitable is the way we're going to be successful in any business, Amazon or otherwise. So if you've got any more questions, please shout. Otherwise, I hope you had a useful and interesting morning. And I hope this will give you some hot tips to launch in the EU in the future. Susie, did you want to speak?
Yes, can I just ask you one question?
Of course you can, absolutely.
I'd like to ask you about your company. You're called Sell Beyond, yeah?
That's right, yeah.
And what services do you offer, and would you be able to send us,
I didn't hear that bit. What services do we offer, and
what services do you offer, and what's your fee structure?
That's a great question. So we help brands grow on Amazon in the UK, Europe, and North America, and depending on the company, will depend on the service we offer. So I work with small startups that have a number of products. They need to learn how Amazon works, get education on the basics of Amazon, and understand actually how to put a listing together and how to think through their costs and their product packaging and all of that type of thing. I work with private label sellers. Those are companies that typically sell only on Amazon. 90% of their sales come on Amazon. Often they know a lot about how Amazon works. Maybe they're not so good at writing. Maybe they're not so good at marketing or foreign language. So then we do a different service for them. And then we work with fully fledged companies that might be selling into supermarkets. They might be selling to the on-trade, have a distribution network, and also want to use Amazon as a distribution channel. And they have really different types of problems. They usually have a company that's very structured, but not at all set up for Amazon. So depending on what the company is, how many products it is, and what actual problem they're looking to solve, we can then have a conversation about whether I could help and what the fee would be.
Lovely, thank you.
That's my pleasure. So we have, just to be clear, Susie, there's not just me at Sell Beyond. There's 6 full-time members of staff. We have people that expertise in creative and the design and the photography side and evaluating your assets. We've got project managers, we've got data analysts, we've got foreign language specialists, and we've got Amazon strategy. I'll be doing a webinar this time next week on what it takes to build a strong Amazon business, looking at the key skills that your team needs to have, which is Amazon strategy, Amazon commercial knowledge, Amazon logistics, Amazon analytics, and Amazon creative, i.e. what makes people buy on Amazon. So that's next week's topic, because you need to be able to cover off all areas to be successful and structured in your business. Are there any other questions? Okay, to start Amazon FBA business, I have a limited budget for the generate traffic method you mentioned. Is it expensive to use these methods? Great question. Is it expensive to generate traffic on Amazon? Yes, because you're paying extra before you generate sales. So yes, it's expensive to advertise. It's probably less expensive than it would be some other advertising methods. That's where we have to factor in, if you want to launch and start your Amazon business, you need to figure out how much money you can spend and then make sure you're spending it wisely. Now, there are many, many different providers. Again, you can get people on Upwork, you can run your ads yourself, you can get expensive ad agencies, you can get Sell Beyond. There are many ways of running ads. And we're going to be, in 2 weeks' time, we're doing a workshop specifically on how to be effective in advertising. The 2 key points, like with any business, how much money can you afford to spend on advertising? Where do you want to spend it? And make sure you don't go over budget. So again, just like with your shipping costs, we need to look at, I'm selling the product to X. I think it's going to take 3 months before, 3 to 6 months before I make my, I make my money back. I need to budget in how much I can afford to spend on ads. We might say 300 to 500 pounds or euros would be a reasonable and relevant cost for a product launch. That would be on the less side. Who's running your ads? Do they know what your budget is? Do you know what they're doing? Make sure you brief your freelancer, your agency, your Amazon partner, that they don't go over budget, and that you know that they're trying to make the best use of your money. So it can be expensive, but the whole point is to get more sales. If we're running ads, we're going to get that traffic, we're going to get that sales velocity. Amazon's going to get you up the ranking. So it's pretty important, but you need to stick to budget. So whether you should use ads and promos, it again depends on your profit margin. You want people to buy your stuff, especially in the 3 weeks. So in the first 3 weeks of launch, you should definitely consider it. You have to factor in, can you afford it? There are companies I know that will just do a promo, cut the price, not run ads. Other ones will run ads at full price. Other ones will do both. You have to figure out what's worth your business and go and talk to someone that can help you think it through. Any other questions this morning? Well, if there's no other questions, you know where to find me. I hope one other. May I know which are the top 3 countries in EU in Amazon sales? That's an easy one to answer because it's really linked to the size of economies in the EU. Amazon UK, I believe, has the highest proportion of people buying in the EU. Like there are more UK people buying by proportion, but otherwise it's linked to the countries. Biggest economy in Europe is Germany. So Amazon Germany, biggest market. Second biggest economy in Europe, I believe it's France, but they're actually second biggest Amazon marketplace is the UK, and then it's France. So top 3 countries in EU for Amazon sales: Germany, UK, France. If that's all, I really thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you learned something, and have a great morning. Thank you so much.